Welcome everyone to Pivotal Stats, where we talk about data analysis techniques, business intelligence platforms, and much more. So, let's go! Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This will be our last video in the Basic of Python series that we've been doing for a couple of weeks now. Now today we're going to talk about loops. More specifically, we're going to talk about two loops category that are there in Python. First one is for loop and second one is while loop. And we're going to see how to use each one of them in certain scenarios. So without any further ado, let's just quickly jump into it. In every programming language, the concept of loops holds a great deal of importance. The reason being, using loops, you will be able to run a particular task over and over again as long as the criteria within the loop that you've written meets. So let's first create a list here. I'm going to call this list as ID and I'm going to input few numbers into this list. Okay, now my ID list has been created. Now I want Python to show me each item that are stored inside this particular list. So how will I do that? I'm going to use a for loop now. So I'm going to say for x in ID. Now x is just a name. This can have any name here. And then I'm going to insert a colon sign and press enter. Now as you see, the moment I press enter after the colon sign, Python has created that indentation there. Now I'm going to say print x. So what's it's asking the system to do is running in an iteration, it's moving from left to right, and at each item it's assigning that value to x and then printing the value in the console. Let's see how it will work. So I'm going to execute this, and if you see, it has simply printed out all the values within the list ID one by one into our output window. Now let's look at the second type of loop, which is while loop. But before initiating the loop, let me create a new variable, and this time I'm gonna use score is equal to 50, and then I'm gonna write a while loop, and the syntax for a while loop is while score is less than or equal to 500, then a colon sign, print the value of score. Okay. Now in while loop, always remember to increment the value of the variable. Otherwise, it will go into an infinite loop and the system will crash. Okay. So if I run the code like this, my system will crash. So to avoid that situation, I'm going to increment the score. And if you remember, to increment an variable, we learned an operator a couple of videos back. We can either write score is equal to score plus 1, 2 or whatever the number is, or we can also write it like this. And I'm going to increment this score by 50 in every iteration. And then I'm going to run this. So if you see, it has printed the value of score, incremented it by 50 again, ran the loop again, and then again printed the value of the new score. Okay, until it was either less than 500 or equal to 500. Now let's club a couple of concepts that we learned in our previous videos and use those concepts with a loop. The first one being conditional statements. So I hope you remember how we write a conditional statement, the if-else statement. If not, I'm going to give you a quick recap. Let me initiate a variable here, x equal to 5. And now I'm going to write my if condition. If x is greater than 5, then print okay, else print not okay. And when I run this, it should print not okay. So this is how I write a if statement. Now we're going to club this with our loops. We're going to use the same ID list that we used here. Okay, I'm going to just copy paste here so that you can have a better view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ID to identify out of these items which one is equal to 32. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to say for x in ID, and then I'm going to write if x is equal to 32. And when you're comparing something, you remember you use a double equal to sign. So x is equal to 32, then print x, else print invalid. I'm going to run this now. And if you see, it has ran through all the items within this list and then captured the value of 32 and entered invalid for all the other entries. Now let's try using loops inside a function. Now the requirement here is we need to create a function which can identify negative numbers and then let us know the total number of negative values which are there in a particular list. So I'm gonna create another list here. Now this list has couple of negative values and couple of positive values. Now we have to count the number of negative values which are there in this list. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function, and to create a function you write def, and I'm going to give it a name count10, and I'm going to insert a parameter here, and then after a colon sign I'm going to come to the next line. I'm going to create a new variable n, and in this variable I'm going to capture the total count of negative values which exist in any particular list. So now we're going to initiate this variable with the value of 0, and in the next line I'm going to say for I in x, if I is less than 0, then increment the value of n by 1 and then return the final output n. Now let's call this function. I'm going to say count n, and I'm going to say s, which is the name of the list that we created earlier, and I'm going to execute this, and it's going to say 3 because we exactly have 3 negative values here. So I hope this is clear. Now we have just scratched the surface of what we can actually achieve with loops. I urge you to go ahead and practice what we have learned so far and try to solve other loop related problems using for loop and while loop. With that, I'm going to end this video for now, and moving on, in the next video, we will look into other conceptual stuff related to data analysis with Python and dig deeper into the world of data analytics. So with that, I would like to just request you, if this video was helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell icon so that you do not miss any content that I upload in future. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.